The Handmaid's Tale has now officially ended following the release of Season 6 Episode 10. After what was an eventful penultimate episode last week, I was slightly concerned how the finale would go, because Episode 9 came in at one of the highest rated episodes the show has ever made. However, the show didn't let us down with this finale. Picking up around 19 days after the events of the death of Nick, Lawrence, and the other commanders on board the plane, we saw each and every character's story arc wrap up and provide closure, other than Hannah's, but there's symbolic meaning behind the decision of that, which I'll get to. Without making you wait any longer, let's dive into the video and discuss the finale of the show. Here is The Handmaid's Tale Season 6, Episode 10, Ending Explained. Just to let you know, this video will contain spoilers. June's ending. Boston was now a part of the United States again, and the army had taken that territory back off of Gilead. However, Gilead as a nation was still strong due to the foothold that they had over the other states. Throughout this finale, it felt like June had a couple of different thoughts going round in her head. One was of Nick and his death, and that she felt a weight of responsibility over the fact that he died. She was reliving their love story within her mind, however she came to be at peace with it by telling herself that he reaped what he sowed, and that is very true. However, the weight of killing somebody that she loved was still on her shoulders, and I don't think she'll ever truly get over that, because they did have a deep connection. Plus, another main thing that was going around June's head now that Boston was free was that she was looking to try and find Hannah, which was the main reason as to why she set out on doing all of this in the first place. When June was thinking about Hannah in this episode, she thought back to a time where she lost her at a carnival before she was in Gilead, and when she found her, she said, "Mummies always come back. They always come back. Remember." This is a piece of dialogue that hit hard because it resonated more than ever, because June's desire to find her daughter had been going on for years, and she'd simply not been able to find her, but she's still trying to get her back. I also think that line describes June's perseverance in general in not giving up, because the love that a mother has for their child goes beyond all leaps and bounds, and it shows that she'll do anything to get her. With Hannah being a few states of liberation away, Massachusetts, New York, Ohio, Colorado, and then Hannah, it showed that there was a lot of fighting that still needed to be done before they could potentially be reunited. As June said a couple of episodes back, liberating Boston wouldn't be the end. It would just be the beginning of the end, because Gilead was a large force, and that was exactly the case. There were moments where we saw June was still mourning not being with Hannah, such as when she was holding on to Noah for Serena, and also when she saw Janine being reunited with Charlotte. You could tell with the look in her eyes and the face that she had that she wasn't envious, because she was obviously happy for Janine. But there was a sense of wishing that she could experience that feeling. June found out that Commander Mackenzie had been promoted and he was moving in with his wife, and also Hannah. Meaning that Hannah, despite not being close, she was going to be 2,000 miles closer than what she previously was, so it was a step in the right direction for June. When it came to June and Serena, there was actually a powerful moment where June actually forgave Serena for everything, following them saying goodbye to one another. I didn't think that June ever would, but what this showed was that she was willing to put all of the trauma behind her and the turbulence that came with Serena, and look to move on. After all, Serena was one of the main reasons as to why Boston fell, as she revealed the information on the commanders going to DC, so she did pick the side of good over evil in the end. When it came to the ending, June leaned back into the fact that she had this desire to continue to fight, and even though Holly and her mother were flown out to Boston, she was going to continue working with Mark in looking to liberate the states that Gilead had a hold over, and aim to protect the children, as they were the future in all of this. Many children were missing, which was shown to us by the posters, and June knew firsthand what it was like to experience that, so she wanted to reunite the families. June said to Holly, "You don't have to be near Mummy to feel her love. It'll find you no matter where you are." With Holly, I kinda hope that's true, as June is barely with her, but in all seriousness, this was true for June. But I also think it was applicable for how she's felt about Hannah over the years, knowing that even though she can't be with her, she's been hoping that her love will still find her. In the final third, June was being told that she should write a story about her experiences in Gilead, and rather than position it as a book that's filled with horror, death, and devastation, she should frame it around the fact that she was a warrior and a fighter, and mention the people that helped bring the oppressive hand of Gilead down. This was why we saw her walking towards the house where it all started for her, because she was entering the mindset that she had when she was first there. With her audio recorder, she spoke the words, "A chair, a table, a lamp. There's a window with white curtains, and the glass is shatterproof, but it isn't running away they're afraid of." This is a line from the book, The Handmaid's Tale. So in this epilogue, we saw June essentially starting the telling of her story. There was one moment in this scene where June held out her hand and she held onto Hannah's hand. This obviously wasn't real as Hannah wasn't there, but it was symbolic of the two important lines of dialogue that she said in this episode, which were, "Mummy's always coming back, remember. And also, you don't have to be near Mummy to feel her love." Plus, it also showed us that she was going to continue the fight to find her daughter. So June's story is something that wasn't concluded, but it left it in our mind to know that she was going to be carrying on the hunt for Hannah with every fiber of her being. June's story isn't over. Serena's ending. When it came to Serena, this was an arc that I was actually really interested in seeing how they'd round the story off, and to be fair, they did it in what I felt was the most appropriate way. She was left as a refugee with nothing to her name at all, and the refugee camp wasn't even sure if she was going to be able to stay there as they weren't supposed to have children. She quoted Oppenheimer in this episode by saying, "I am become death, destroyer of worlds." This was following her acknowledging that she destroyed Boston on two separate occasions, one for the side of Gilead when she was at the wheel and another when she went against it. I do believe Serena saw sense in the end, and with her apologizing to June for everything that she did to her, and with June forgiving her, I think that closure was something that not only helped Serena, but I feel like it helped me with the character. Because it's not as if her slate had been wiped clean, but instead she had a clear conscience in knowing that June forgave her, and with that she could have a foundation to build a new life upon. Whilst she was at the refugee camp, she had nothing other than a carrier bag, not even a change of clothes for Noah. However, once she opened up the bag, she saw that Serena had put something in there for Noah, just showing again how June had looked out for Serena and pulled through in her time of need. Serena's most powerful line in this episode came right at the end, where she said to Noah, "You are the most important thing in the world. Do you know how much I prayed for you? And now you're here. You're all I ever wanted. I'm so blessed. My beautiful baby boy." This tied back to what June said to Serena, where she mentioned how even though she didn't have a passport for Canada, the EU, and that she couldn't go to Gilead because many people wanted her dead, June said, "Just be his mother." And with her saying that, she realized that she could be anywhere in the world with absolutely nothing, but the love that she had for her child would carry her through, because he is her entire purpose. I thought it was a great way for Serena's arc to end. Janine's ending. When it came to Janine, thank God she got a happy ending. When the episode opened and we found out that she was somewhere in Gilead being held captive, I did worry that she wouldn't make it out alive. However, Janine was taken to the new border of Gilead and was passed over following Aunt Lydia finding her. Within this moment, Janine was also reunited with Charlotte as Naomi handed her over to her. This meant that Janine was now able to set up the life that she'd always wanted to lead and had been working towards. I was quite shocked that Naomi handed Charlotte over so easily and switched up her sides, but I'd have to imagine that the work that Aunt Lydia was doing was what got her to change her mind. Whenever Aunt Lydia delivers a line of dialogue, honestly, it just captivates me for some reason. The tone of the voice is just perfect. She said to June, "Take good care of our Janine, will you?" And June responded and said, "Blessed is the woman who does not walk in stride with the wicked." Showing that Aunt Lydia had chosen her side, and despite being within Gilead, she wasn't going to be working in the same capacity that she was before. Aunt Lydia walking off into the glowing mist after undergoing this transformation was a great way for her character to end, and for it to be the last time that we'd ever see her on screen. Luke's ending. When it came to Luke's ending, we saw that he was continuing to work with Mayday and was planning on going to New York with them to work on some operations. He was doing this instead of staying with June, but he was also looking to be reunited with Hannah just in a different way. I don't know about this, you know. In my mind, this just kind of solidified in my head that June didn't love Luke as much as she loved Nick. They were now essentially leaving each other to go on their own journeys rather than staying together. I understand that June wanted to find Hannah and also help the many other people that were out there, but I don't understand why they couldn't do it together, rather than the whole meet you there that ended up being spoken. Luke even mentioned that Nick should have been a part of June's story, which I thought was interesting considering that he didn't like him at all. But it showed that he understood that for the most part Nick was on the side of June, right up until the end where he did change sides. So the whole June, Luke and Nick debate didn't actually need to happen because she ended up with none of them. I do think June loves Luke, but not in a romantic sense, just in the way that they both share Hannah and she'll always care for him. My review of the episode. I thought this was a great finale. It kinda went how I predicted, with it being an epilogue format. Episode 9 was the action-packed ending, whereas this episode was all about closing the story off now that the storm had passed and things had started to calm down, and I liked that. I thought there were some great symbolic moments in this episode, such as June burning her handmaid's gown, and then when she did, the lights in Boston came on for the first time, almost showing that she was ready to move on, and it brought to light that progression that was going to be on the horizon. I also thought the use of the song Landslide was the perfect choice too. The lyrics, "But time makes you bolder, even children get older, and I'm getting older too," just felt so appropriate to the story and everything that June had been going through, so I loved that. This was actually quite an emotional watch. I think it's because I knew that this would be the last time that we'd see the characters on screen in this capacity. And for the first time, there was this sense of triumph that was amongst everybody. So it was a real change in tone to what we'd come to expect within the show. One of the most emotional moments for me was when Luke said to June that all the people that helped were worth remembering. Lawrence, Janine, and Nick. As he walked off, there was this short piano piece that was playing 5 singular notes, and it just captured the mood so perfectly. Whilst talking about the score, one part that captured real discomfort was when June was walking past the house. There was this overarching sound of inspiration in the music, but at the same time, there was this dissonance that was present as well, allowing this haunting trauma to be captured by the music, and it showed us the feeling that was going through June's mind at that point. Was I disappointed that June didn't get her happy ending with Hannah? I'm not gonna lie, I was a bit, but I knew the Testament spin-off show was on the way and she was confirmed to be in that, so it was kinda predictable. But at the same time, it's almost as if June found a wider purpose in being able to help other people, which is what we've seen her do throughout the entirety of the show, so it felt somewhat appropriate. This season is one that was definitely a mixed bag, but what I will say is that the final 3 episodes saved it, and they provided some of the strongest episodes that the show has ever given us. So I don't think this ending failed in the slightest. I think it was the most appropriate way for the show to go out, and I'm satisfied with it for sure. With The Handmaid's Tale Season 6 now being at an end, I just want to say thanks for tuning into the breakdowns every week. I think it's been 8 weeks now? It's been a season of 2 halves, there's no denying that, but it's been great jumping in the comments with a lot of you and also seeing your opinions too, so thanks for that. So, there you have it, The Handmaid's Tale Season 6 Episode 10 Ending Explained. If you want to see every episode of The Handmaid's Tale Season 6 being broken down, then check the playlist below, and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss future videos. What did you think of the finale? Share your thoughts in the comments. As always, thanks for tuning into the video and I'll see you in the next one.